There is a lot of discourse around Bonney's fruit, but I'm telling you right now, the Bonney's fruit is the most broken fruit in One Piece as far as we know. But this is how it works. On other people, as you can see, she can turn them either old or young. And as far as we've seen so far, she's able to use her fruit on a vice admiral. So last chapter, we were able to see her turn a doll. Let me bring her up right here. She was able to turn a vice admiral, or at least two vice admirals, into little kids. So she's being able to penetrate the hockey of two vice admiral level people, which is a decent feat. But in terms of how exactly the power works on herself, this is where it gets kind of interesting. Um, so here's my understanding of how it works. Obviously, at a base level, she can modify her own age, but the unique power of her fruit is distorted future. And based on what we know, she imagines a future, then she manifests that future into her reality. So in the case um, of where she used it uh, against Vegapunk, let me pull up that right here. When she used distorted future on Vegapunk, she imagined a future where she was closer to the size of Kuma with Kuma's strength. In the flashback, let me pull that up. She imagined a future where she was Nika-like. So you can see her using almost like a Gear 3 size fist on the CP0 agent in the flashback. And then, most notably recently, obviously, she manifested a future that was Nika, and she was totally free in that form. So let's break that down. So she can obviously, create a distorted version of herself and manifest that into her current body. And what exactly is happening in these instances? Like, when you distort the future, you're changing elements of the present and past. Basically, you're modifying history. So whenever Bonney used distorted future to make herself bigger and stronger, a la the Vegapunk distorted future, she changed her dietary and workout habits, and potentially even her genetics, so that she manifested a future where she was big and strong, or stronger than she would have been if she had continued on with her normal genetics and dietary habits. So again, this is not just modifying the future like a lot of people are mentioning. This is potentially modifying the past to manifest a Bonney from an alternate universe where she has different genetics. So let's connect this with present day, when Bonney uses distorted future, like she did right here. She's not just changing the future, like I was mentioning earlier. In this universe, Bonney has already consumed the HH fruit. So even if she consumed the Gomu Gomu no fruit or the Nika fruit, she wouldn't gain Nika powers. She would very likely die, because you cannot consume two devil fruits unless you're Blackbeard. But the point is, that would suggest she's using her fruit to modify the past to ensure that she did not consume the HH fruit, and that instead of consuming the HH fruit, she actually consumed the Nika fruit. And in addition to just consuming the fruit, she also awakened the fruit, and that is the current version of Bonney that we're seeing. So why is this a big deal? Besides the obvious reasons of her, having or being the second Nika, potentially being able to do this without drawbacks. So in terms of feasibility, devil fruit, a devil fruit would be the hardest, concept to manipulate into somebody's timeline. And stay with me. So Bonney is essentially manipulating her timeline by removing her consumption of the HH fruit and including her consumption of the Nika fruit. Again, this is like the hardest concept to manipulate, because a devil fruit is one of a kind. The rarer something is, the harder it is to mimic. So concepts like hockey, which everybody use, should be easier to mimic. Which brings the question, what would prevent Bonney from using distorted future Pirate King version, where she can use Conqueror's Hockey imbuing, Armament Hockey, and Future Sight? These are more common concepts because we've already encountered multiple characters in the series capable of using it. And in terms of tiers, copying a devil fruit should be the hardest concept to copy in the series. So Bonnie's already done that using distorted future and creating a future where, she was, the master, or where she's Nika. She's consumed the Gomu Gomu no fruit in her timeline. So why wouldn't she be able to do that with a distorted future where she's mastered Conqueror's armament and observational haki? It should be a lot easier than copying just a devil fruit, which is one of a kind. But again, if Oda's consistent with how the fruit works, then she should be able to do this, in terms of creating a future where she can master all the hakis. But this is all contingent on one thing, that being whether Luffy had an influence on her ability to transform into Nika. We already know awakened fruits in general can influence their environment, so Luffy in particular being able to bend the fabric of reality to work in his favor is that is the common element that we've been seeing with Luffy and his awakened fruit. So assuming Luffy has that influence on the environment, we could say the only reason Bonney was able to manifest Nika was because Luffy said she was able to do it. Because let me pull up the panel real quick. So let me see real quick. Where does Luffy influence her? Okay. Yeah, here's Luffy saying, of course you can. I don't know how your power works, but I'm sure you've got this. And again, this is Luffy using his influence to tell her she can do something with her devil fruit, which is kind of the main point. So what if Luffy's fruit is giving Bonney the freedom to use her ability? And if Luffy, for example, was not around, would she still be able to copy Nika's fruit since Luffy's not around? I guess my point is that Luffy being there and having an awakened fruit, which allows him to bend the fabric of reality, is also giving her the freedom to bend the fabric of how her fruit works. And I would prefer that explanation personally because it puts the onus on Luffy's influence, but we haven't historically witnessed devil fruits alternating the way other fruits work. For example, like Dragon being around Sabo would not cause Sabo to all of a sudden be able to generate and control noxious gas. And for the most part, the fundamentals of a fruit haven't changed due to the presence or input of another user, so this theory is kind of far-fetched. So let's assume Oda's consistent with how devil fruits work. And I would say that theory one, which states she can control her own timeline and give herself whatever fruit or haki type she wants with distorted future, is without a doubt the most broken fruit of all time. Because again, she can distorted future Pirate King, where she can control all hakis, distorted future whatever devil fruit Emu has, which is probably one of the strongest fruits of all time, distorted future model Nika. And the more she gets used to model Nika, distorted future, the better she can use it, just like Luffy. Again, the possibilities are endless. She can copy whatever fruit she wants. She can copy whatever haki she wants. This is the strongest fruit of all time. The end.